Since the former Niger President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted by the Niger military, he has been trying hard to come back to power. In doing so, he has been taking steps that can lead to an unfortunate outcome. It appears that he is doing so after foreign powers are encouraging him to take the power back. If he succeeds, all will be good. However, if he fails and is caught red-handed, it will be he who will face the consequences, not that foreign power. Well, that can be a genius strategy. However, the Niger military junta knows all the parties involved. What everyone was waiting for finally happened. The Niger military junta recently revealed that Mohamed Bazoum, the French puppet, had attempted to escape. This was done in a secret move, so he could go to a foreign country assisting him and come back with their support. But this attempt was busted, and now the military junta has announced what it will do with him. So, what's the foreign country that is involved, and what the Niger military junta has announced to do with Bazoum, ending all the foreign powers' hopes? Let's find that out in this video. The military government in Niger has reported that it successfully foiled an escape attempt by the deposed former president, Mohamed Bazoum, who has been in custody. It was reported that Bazoum, along with his family, cooks, and security personnel, made a nighttime effort to flee, with plans to escape using helicopters. However, this escape plot ultimately failed. Legal representatives of Mr. Bazoum have demanded his immediate release, contending that his detention is unlawful. Since a coup led by members of his presidential guard in late July, he and his family have been under house arrest. These legal representatives assert that the ousted president and his family are only permitted visits by a doctor who brings them food every other day. Moreover, on a recent Friday morning, even this visit was denied, raising concerns about Mr. Bazoum's well-being. Well, the visit could have been denied because the military junta knew the escape plan. The escape attempt took place around 3 o'clock local time on Thursday, as disclosed by military spokesperson Amadou Abdramani on state television. The plan involved Mr. Bazoum reaching a hideout on the outskirts of the capital, Niamey, with intentions to depart via helicopters belonging to a foreign power, bound for Nigeria. The military spokesperson criticized Mr. Bazoum's actions as irresponsible. The current whereabouts of the former president and others involved in the escape attempt remain unclear, prompting an investigation into the incident. Earlier, like Mali, Niger's junta has ordered French troops based in the country to leave, with a focus on combating jihadists. After a 9-day journey, the first convoy of French troops from Niger arrived in neighboring Chad on Thursday, as confirmed by the French military. You should know that Mr. Bazoum has not officially resigned from his position, perhaps after the French president's directions. Bazoum and Macron might be thinking that perhaps Bazoum can come back to power. That's why we saw US President Joe Biden calling for Mr. Bazoum's immediate release, and the regional power bloc of West African states, ECOWAS, issuing threats of military intervention if the coup leaders did not step down. However, these threats have not been acted upon, and the junta has remained unresponsive to calls for the president's release. To understand what happened is quite serious. You have to know the context. Earlier this year, on July 26th, President Mohamed Bazoum, along with his family, was detained at the presidential palace in Niamey. Interior Minister Hamadou Souleh was also arrested during this period. The coup was orchestrated by General Abdourahmane Chiani, whom President Bazoum had intended to remove from his position. In the evening, Air Force Colonel Major Amadou Abdramani announced on state television that President Bazoum had been ousted from power. He declared the formation of a National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, the dissolution of the country's constitution, the suspension of state institutions, the closure of borders, and the imposition of a nationwide curfew from 22 o'clock until 5 o'clock local time. He also issued a warning against any foreign intervention. As a consequence, all activities of political parties within the country were suspended until further notice. Despite his detention, President Bazoum has thus far declined to resign. His foreign minister, Hassoumi Massaoudou, asserted that the country's legal and legitimate power remains vested in the president. Massaoudou declared himself as the acting head of state, urging resistance against the coup. In contrast, the leadership of the Nigerian armed forces expressed support for the coup as a means to protect the president and avoid a potentially deadly confrontation. On July 28th, General Chiani declared himself as the president of the junta. He claimed to have removed President Bazoum to prevent what he saw as the gradual and inevitable decline of the country. He accused Bazoum of concealing the true state of the nation, but did not provide a specific timeline for the return to civilian rule. The charges on which Bazoum was ousted were corruption and being a French puppet. Yes, those were charges, and no apparent evidence existed, but what was about to happen after the coup showed that this was true. But before you know how close Bazoum and the French president were, you first have to know who Bazoum was and how his rise to power had a French hand. Mohamed Bazoum was born in 1960 in the village of Belabrin, located in French Niger, which now falls under the Diffa region of Niger. He spent his earlier years in the town of Tesker, situated 200 kilometers to the west of Belabrin, in the Zinda region. Bazoum belongs to the Ouled Slimane people, an Arab tribe originally hailing from the Fezzan region of Libya. They constitute a minority within Niger and the broader Nigerian Arab population. His educational journey commenced with primary school in Goura, and he later graduated from Amadou Kouran Daga High School in Zinder. Bazoum pursued higher education in philosophy at the Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences Philosophy Department at Cheikh Anta Diop University in Senegal from 1979 to 1984. Following this, he earned a master's degree in political and moral philosophy from the same university, along with a diploma in logic and epistemology. After completing his degrees, Bazoum dedicated 6 years to teaching at various provincial high schools. He also became a member of the National Union of Teachers of Niger, a national trade union. Furthermore, he joined the Executive Committee of the Trade Union of Workers of Niger and represented it at the 1991 National Conference. In his early political career, Bazoum co-founded the Nigerian Party for Democracy and Socialism in 1990, alongside Mahamadou Issoufou. He served as the Secretary of State for Cooperation under the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation in the transitional government of Prime Minister Amadou Chefou from 1991 to 1993. Bazoum's entry into the National Assembly as the PNDS candidate came through a special election held on April 11, 1993, following the cancellation of the initial election in Tesker held in February. After the parliamentary election in January 1995, Bazoum assumed the role of Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation in the government led by Prime Minister Hama Amadou, appointed on February 25, 1995. Being the foreign minister, he tried forging ties with various heads of state. While he was initially reappointed to the position after Ibrahim Bar Mainasara's military coup on January 27, 1996, Bazoum was later replaced in the government formed on May 5, 1996. The PNDS, to which Bazoum belonged, opposed Mainasara's regime. Following the 1996 presidential election, he and PNDS President Mahamadou Issoufou were placed under house arrest, but they were released by a judge's order on August 12, 1996. Bazoum faced arrest again in early January 1998 along with 2 other prominent opposition politicians, including MNSD Secretary General Hama Amadou, on suspicion of involvement in a plot to assassinate Mainasara. However, he was never formally charged and was released a week after his arrest. As a senior member of the Nigerian government, Bazoum was selected as the PNDS presidential candidate in the 2020-21 Nigerian general election. His campaign focused on addressing demographic challenges in Niger by promoting limited family size, improving literacy, enhancing gender equality through increased education for girls, combating the ISIS insurgency in Niger, strengthening defense and security, and tackling corruption in the country. Bazoum did not secure victory in the first round of the election held on December 27, 2020, with only 39.30% of the vote. However, he won the runoff election in February 2021 with 55.67% of the vote and was sworn in as president on April 2nd, with his victory confirmed on March 21st. In December 2022, Bazoum was appointed as the current president of the West African Economic and Monetary Union during the 23rd Ordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government of the organization in Abidjan. During all these years in power, the military became more than suspicious of his intentions. He was seen as someone securing French interests in the country instead of being a president of the people of Niger. France could get Niger's resources at cheaper prices, like getting uranium for only pennies. Bazoum was the man who made these types of deals easier for the French government. That's why, even after he is overthrown, we are seeing strong support for him by France. Earlier, French President Emmanuel Macron revealed that he talks with the deposed president of Niger, Mohamed Bazoum, every day. Yes, every single day. Macron stated, "I talk to President Bazoum every day. We stand by him. We do not acknowledge those responsible for the coup. Our decisions, whatever they may be, will be based on our discussions with Bazoum." This clearly showed that whatever Bazoum was about to do was first discussed with Macron. In response, Niger's military regime accused Macron of employing divisive language in his remarks about the coup and accused France of perpetuating a neo-colonial connection with its former colony. Niger's military leaders accused France of blatant interference and charged President Emmanuel Macron with perpetuating a neo-colonial operation against the Nigerian people. Colonel Amadou Abdramani declared that Macron's recent statements further constitute blatant interference in Niger's internal affairs. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Previously, Macron had expressed his support for the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, including the possibility of military intervention, following the coup against President Bazoum, who is a close ally of France. France said that it endorsed ECOWAS's diplomatic efforts and, if necessary, military actions. On state TV, Abdramane criticized Macron's comments, alleging that he was attempting to maintain a neo-colonial operation against the Nigerian people. He remarked, "Mr. Macron's comments and his persistent push for a Niger invasion are aimed at perpetuating a neo-colonial operation against the Nigerian people, who simply want to determine their own destiny." Relations between France and Niger deteriorated quickly after Paris expressed its backing for Bazoum. Macron lauded Bazoum as a principled, democratically elected, and courageous leader. ECOWAS also threatened military intervention in Niger if diplomatic endeavors to restore Bazoum to power proved ineffective. The leaders of the coup in Niger also claimed that the previous government authorized a French attack on the presidential palace to free President Mohamed Bazoum. This can be seen as a true statement because, as Macron himself said, he talked with Bazoum every day. Colonel Amadou Abdramani, one of the coup leaders, made these allegations on state television. He asserted that the authorization was signed by Foreign Minister Hassoumi Massoudou, who was acting as the prime minister at the time. France has denied these allegations, and Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna stated that it is still possible to restore Bazoum to power. The coup leaders also accused France on national television of conducting a meeting with the Chief of Staff of the Nigerian National Guard to obtain political and military authorization for a military intervention in Niger. France, however, refuted these claims. French President Emmanuel Macron pledged immediate and uncompromising action if French citizens or interests were threatened. Thousands of protesters gathered outside the French embassy in Niamey, and some attempted to enter the compound but were dispersed with tear gas. The Presidential Guard, which seized power, has warned against foreign attempts to extract the president, saying it would result in violence and chaos. Abdramane's statements come after ECOWAS warned that it might use force if Bazoum is not reinstated within a week. The West African bloc also imposed strict sanctions on Niger, including suspending all commercial and financial transactions between its member states and Niger and freezing assets in regional central banks. Economic sanctions could have a severe impact on Niger, which relies heavily on imports from Nigeria for up to 90% of its power. After doing all this, Bazoum has made it clear that he really was the French puppet. Therefore, the Niger military made a decision nobody was expecting. Niger's military has publicly declared its intent to charge former President Mohamed Bazoum with treason. They accused him of committing high treason and jeopardizing the nation's internal and external security, as announced in a televised statement. You should understand that if the high treason charges are proven, Bazoum can have a death sentence. In other words, whatever he has done until now can stand against him in court and can lead him to his execution. Several international organizations, including the United Nations and the Economic Community of West African States, have strongly criticized this decision. In particular, ECOWAS has been actively demanding the reinstatement of Bazoum and has implemented severe economic sanctions against Niger. Moreover, they have issued a warning of potential military intervention if the return to civilian rule is not achieved. Despite the reported willingness of the military authorities in the Republic of Niger to seek a peaceful restoration of constitutional order, ECOWAS expressed dismay over the threats to prosecute Bazoum, seeing it as a provocative move. ECOWAS, which has authorized the deployment of a standby force to restore constitutional order in Niger, maintains its commitment to pursuing a diplomatic solution to the crisis. The charges against Bazoum are likely to escalate tensions between the Niger military and the international community, according to Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris, reporting from Nigeria's border with Niger. The military statement indicates its unwillingness to release Bazoum. The announced charges could have serious consequences for Bazoum and might be an attempt by the military to bolster its position in future negotiations. The possibility of a military intervention to reinstate Bazoum has divided ECOWAS members and drawn warnings from foreign powers, including Russia and Algeria. Neighboring countries Mali and Burkina Faso, both ruled by military governments following coups, consider intervention as a declaration of war against them. Earlier, the Niger military junta was thinking of trying Bazoum in court. However, after he has been in close contact with the French president and there have been 2 incidents that show Bazoum's plans, it's hard that Bazoum will be released. First, he authorized a French attack on the presidential palace, and second, he tried to escape, taking French help. This proves him a French puppet, and the chances of his execution increase more than ever. Now, if the ECOWAS made any mistake of threatening an attack on Niger, the military junta will probably execute Bazoum. It's because he is the man for whom all this is being done. But once he is executed, there will be no puppet for France to save and bring back to power. Earlier, Niger's military junta made a significant announcement, asserting that it had amassed comprehensive evidence to charge the deposed President Mohamed Bazoum with high treason. This development further escalated the ongoing confrontation between the junta and neighboring West African nations that are determined to reinstate constitutional order in Niger. A statement issued by the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland of Niger, the military council responsible for toppling the government in July, explicitly stated, "The Nigerian government has to date gathered the necessary evidence to prosecute the deposed president and his local and foreign accomplices before the competent national and international authorities for high treason and undermining the internal and external security of Niger." All this suggests that the Niger military junta is not in the mood to allow this issue to linger any longer. From the very beginning of the coup, it made statements about French intervention in Niger's internal matters. With time, we saw various incidents that somehow proved Bazoum was in close contact with the French president. In all that, Bazoum put himself in a precarious situation. Even if the French president might have assured him to help if things turn out wrong, it's unlikely that France will offer direct support. In other words, now, as the military junta has foiled Bazoum's escape attempt, France has distanced itself from the matter. What's more, as the Niger junta has said it has sufficient evidence against Bazoum, proving his high treason, he might likely be given a death sentence by the court. In this case, France will not offer its support to save Bazoum. This means that whatever Bazoum did, following the advice of the French president, did not bring fruit. Rather, it made him the scapegoat. What do you think? Is France deliberately using Mohamed Bazoum for its own benefits? Isn't it true that Bazoum is the puppet here, who is being encouraged to threaten his life? Let us know your thoughts on whether the Niger military junta is so powerful to execute Mohamed Bazoum. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.